where as more and more information comes out between you and me, I'm becoming aware. I don't know what Jennifer did or didn't know. I don't know if she was aware of this happening or not, and the context of if she knew and was enabling, or if she is as much of a victim as Maddie, will dictate how comfortable I am having any for. Frankly, I'm not interested in contacting her family ever again anyways, but like, it's one of those, if Jennifer as much as a victim of this as I am, I'm content to just let them live their life in privacy. But I swear to fucking God, if I find out Jennifer was involved and enabled this, I will take whatever legal action I can.
Okay.
I just need a second. I'm sorry, I'm ramping up. I just need a second.
So that bit of audio was Maddie's bio dad, Tyler Wallace. And the purpose of this video is to talk about how all this has affected him and the possibility of him taking civil action against Jenn Soto. Now, we can say quite fairly that Jenn Soto should be charged for her role in what happened to Maddie. She was neglectful. You can't argue that point. Whether or not charges will occur, we're still waiting, holding our breath, and hoping that it will happen. But in the meantime, perhaps we should be vocalising our support for Tyler, offering our support for him to take legal action against Jennifer Soto over the death of his daughter. Because he is a victim in all this too. He's lost his daughter. He's never going to get the opportunity to really get to know Maddie as a teenager, as an adult, in any form. He's had limited time with her over the 13 years that she was on this earth. And that's all he'll ever get. So it would be fair for him to take civil action. I guess the question is, could he build a case? I'm going to start, first of all, by looking at the laws in terms of neglect as to whether or not Jenn should actually be charged in the first place with neglect of Maddie. And for that, I'm going to use some clips from Duty Ron, because he's done a really good job of covering that. With his background in law enforcement, obviously he knows exactly what resources to access to make a point. So I'm going to look at them first of all in terms of, could Jenn be prosecuted? And then from that, I'm going to look at what evidence is available just simply from looking at the various interviews that were done that would support a case, a civil case, should Tyler choose to go down that avenue.
But the real crime that I think she could be charged with, based on what we know now, is potential child neglect charges. Now, child abuse under Florida law, under Section 827.03, includes child neglect, and neglect can be a second-degree felony, punishable about to 15 years in prison if a caregiver fails to provide a child with the necessary care, supervision, or services to maintain that child's physical and mental health. And if that bodily harm, which
there you go, bingo, yeah. Ed, what we just heard there from not only a judge, a former judge, but a former prosecutor, that ding, 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 ding moment right there, right, Ed?
Oh yeah, the bells were ringing. I mean, she allowed her daughter to sleep with her boyfriend in a separate bedroom. Okay, you know, it's just crazy. I mean, she admits to it as if that is not wrong.
Right.
In her mind, it's not wrong.
And it's so wrong, right? It's wrong on so many different levels. And anybody who's not, you don't even have to be a parent here. Anybody who's a human being that has common sense would say, wait a minute, whoa, whoa, whoa. And she just says it, and she gave interviews in Spanish that we didn't play because we're not Spanish speaking here. But she also gave interviews outside in front of her home in Spanish to, I think, Telemundo or one of the Spanish outlets, and she said the same exact nonsense.
Now, child abuse under Florida law under Section 827.03 includes child neglect, and neglect can be a second-degree felony punishable by up to 15 years in prison if a caregiver fails to provide a child with the necessary care, supervision, or services to maintain that child's physical and mental health. And if that neglect causes great bodily harm, which clearly occurred here, then it does rise to a second-degree felony. That's the crime that she could be charged with, depending on the facts.
So essentially what they're talking about here is culpable negligence. Consciously doing an act or following a course of conduct that the defendant must have known or reasonably should have known was likely to cause death or great bodily harm. Now, you could argue that perhaps sending her daughter upstairs to sleep with a 37-year-old male may not have had the logical conclusion of death or great bodily harm, but it is still, that is what eventuated. Any reasonable person would know that by serving their child up to a predator like that, they could, in fact, and would most likely come to harm. Surely what he did to Maddie, even before that final night, constitutes great bodily harm. Either way, according to Florida statute, she was culpable. Her actions resulted in the things that Stern did to her daughter on multiple occasions. Her actions also resulted in her daughter's death. So there could actually be multiple charges that could be brought against her for negligence, a failure to act, and a choice of actions. Two things there which led to what happened to Maddie. Had Jenn acted like a parent and actually fulfilled her role as a parent and protected her child, it wouldn't have happened. Now, going back to talking about the possibility of multiple charges, there's a really interesting conversation here with Ed Wallace, and I will comment on it after I play it, but this is something that to me is significant in terms of prosecution for Jenn Soto.
Ed, could those charges be multiple for all the different times that he had Madeline Soto? Because she sanctioned it each time. She told him,
Well,
"Yeah, go."
she sanctioned sleeping with her. And we would have to track down where she was at the time of each of those assaults. So now in the metadata of the videos that were captured from his phone, there would be a date, a time, and possibly GPS coordinates. And so then the investigators would have to find, okay, where was mom at the time of these attacks?
So here's the thing. Not only do you have her admission that because she was on a disability payment, she was home pretty much all the time, but here Ed Wallace is talking about metadata from his phone, Stearns' phone, in terms of all the images that he had, all the stuff that he had with Maddie in it. We know that they downloaded both Stearns' phone and Jenn Soto's phone. So all it would take would be to look at the metadata and come up with dates and times for those images and compare them with data from Jenn's phone showing her location. And I tell you what, if it shows her location as being pretty much in the exact location that those things were occurring, she's going to be in big trouble. But even if it's showing that she was at the same residence at the time that these things were happening, that proves culpable negligence. This was happening under her own roof, and she failed to prevent it from happening.
Now, she may say that she has no intent to commit such a crime, but remember, we're not talking about intentional child abuse, we're talking about child neglect, and by its own terms, neglect doesn't mean intent, it just means that you're neglectful. And I think when you encourage your daughter to go sleep in a bed with your boyfriend in another room when you're not even there, then I think that meets the standards for child neglect.
I agree 100%. And I had looked back, I was trying to find another video from Duty Ron, and it was actually the one that I was originally looking for, where he actually had Florida statute up, similar to those two things that I added onto the screen earlier here. But it is really, really explicit in terms of Florida statute. The absence of actions. Negligence. She was negligent. She neglected her child. She basically did not protect her child, and that caused harm for her child. It can't be argued away. It is the fact of the matter. Now, we can hope that there will be charges coming for Jenn Soto. But, like I said, the point of this video was for me to explore the possibility of Tyler taking civil action against Jenn Soto. So, to that end, I'm going to go through a number of clips. Most of my audio either comes from my own videos or from Grizzly True Crime. So all the Jenn Soto audio comes from Grizzly. There is also audio from the roommate, which I believe is from Grizzly, and then there's audio from Stearns's girlfriend or ex-girlfriend, which comes from my own videos. I also have used audio from Stearns's parents, which has come from Hidden True Crimes, and I'll put all the links for that in the description section for this video. So I'm going to look at these different clips and just explain how they could be used to demonstrate culpability in a civil trial. I'm going to actually start by looking at Stearns's parents, because I believe that not only does what Deb say in this particular clip, not only is what she's saying showing that there were things that Jenn should have seen as red flags, and that should have been enough for Jenn to realise that she was not looking after her daughter, but this could also be used to prove culpability on the part of Stearns's parents. To me, if Tyler really wanted to go all out, there is a major admission here from Deb Stearns which could easily be used as the basis for a civil case against them for failing for neglect. They were in a position where they had this child under their roof and they knew that things weren't right and they chose not to act.
Yeah.
The only
Yeah.
thing, the only thing that we knew that was wrong, and we addressed it immediately, was when we became aware of the co-sleeping arrangements. And they were here at our house. And at that point, I put my foot down and said, Madeline's not sleeping in the room with you. She's too old for that. And I said, you need to stop doing that at home too. And I talked to both Jen and to Stefan. And Jen says, well, she comes in at night. She gets scared. She comes in at night and climbs into bed, and I can't stop her. I said, does your door have a lock on it? She said, yes. I said, well, then use the damn lock. I mean, it's ridiculous. And then to send your child off to sleep with a man in another room in a single bed together, who is not a biological relative, and even biological relatives can't be trusted. I mean, seriously, how many people have you heard of in that situation with family members? So I just, I saw red when I heard that. And
now I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt there and presume that she's talking about having heard it in like documents and discussions and everything since her son was arrested, and not that she had heard about it before all this stuff happened to Maddie. She doesn't clarify it there, but I'm taking it as that being the context of it. But let's listen to what else she has to say.
it's
Did you on that issue? Did you? I know you. It sounds like you chastised them about sleeping in the same bed, but did you ever get a chance to sit down and talk to Stefan about that issue in more detail?
I didn't think I had to. I did not think I had to.
I did not think I had to. She's admitting here that she knew that they were all co-sleeping, that Maddie was sleeping in a bed with Stearns. Now, like I said, I don't think she knew that it was only the two of them at times. I think in her understanding, she only knew of the fact that the three of them were sharing a bed and that Maddie was in the middle. But her saying that she didn't think, essentially saying it wasn't her problem. She had knowledge about something that was wrong. Legally, she was actually obliged to report that to protective services, but she did not act.
Stefan would be sitting on the sofa, and she would go and sit on the arm of the sofa and break her arm around him and give him a kiss and tell him she loved him. You know, and Madeline is the one that told me about the co-sleeping, not Stefan and not Jen. Madeline did. When she related, she said it was a funny story. She says, oh, I was in bed with Mom and Stefan, and when I woke up in the morning, my leg was draped over him, and she went, isn't that funny? I said, no, it's not. I don't find that funny.
Yeah.
That's when I would have the talk with them.
So aside from having just identified two things that she should have actually notified authorities about, things that should have been enough to go, hang on, this isn't right, I should at least put in a report and they can find that out for themselves. She's saying here that she mentioned it to Stefan. She said she spoke to them about it. Now, Jen would have been part of that conversation, meaning that Jen was told by someone, what is happening here is wrong. Did Jen do anything about it? No. Jen continued to allow the three of them to share a bed, and then she allowed her daughter to sleep in a bed unsupervised with a 37-year-old man. So you have proof here that Jen was not, she knew that this was wrong. She knew that something wasn't right. The conversation had when she was with Stearns' parents. And she did nothing. That to me is neglect, and that certainly is something that could be used against her in a civil case.
Because to me, I'm sorry, that sent up a big red flag.
Yeah. She
Never.
said that in a playful manner.
Yes. Yes.
But not in a, you wouldn't see that as kind of a cry for help.
I did not see it as a cry for help. I found it to be disturbing to me on levels.
She talks about red flags and about it being disturbing to her on levels. She witnessed things that to her were disturbing. She took no action. So yes, Tyler could, in fact, take civil action against Stearns' parents, as well as Jenn, in my opinion. But the fact that she felt so strongly about it, and that she had had a discussion with Stearns and Jenn, then surely her reaction during that discussion should have been enough of a sign to show Jenn, if Jenn really was as dumb as she appears to be, surely that should have been enough to prompt Jenn to go, okay, I'm being told this is not right. Maybe this needs to stop. But no, it made no difference.
So, other than that, we had no recollection, we had no indication that anyway that something illicit was going on. Nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. And when you told Stefan you shouldn't be co-sleeping with Madeline, he, as far as you could tell, he heard you. He said, okay.
He heard me. He and Jenn both says, well, but she wants to be with us. And
Yeah.
I knew no matter what I said to him, they're going to do what they're going to do anyway.
Right.
It was very obvious to me that they were not listening. They heard, but they're not comprehending, and they're not going to change.
They heard, they're not comprehending, and they're not going to change. So she spoke out, made it clear that it was wrong. And she is saying here that it was clear to her they were not going to change. So you've got two things here. A, this is the point when she should have notified authorities. Had she done so, Maddie may have still been around today. So yes, there could be potential here for a civil case. But at the same time, this provides evidence that Jenn was culpable. This statements from individuals like her could be used in a civil case against Jenn over Maddie's death. So next I'm going to play a clip from Stearns' Disney girlfriend. Now, while unlike Stearns' parents, she obviously had no conversation with Jenn over the things that she saw as red flags, but when you listen to what she's saying, it shows that there are things that Jenn was fully aware of that, in my opinion, demonstrate that she was negligent, because she was aware of these things and she allowed them to happen. We go back to that definition of culpable negligence. A reasonable person should have known that these things were wrong. That is all that is required. And don't forget, when you come to a civil suit, the burden of proof is not as great as a criminal case. So I think there would be a very strong case against Jenn, particularly when you hear these statements made by the Disney girlfriend.
Another occasion, he said that he was upset because sometimes he would go and take a shower, and then Jenn would be in the bedroom, And then when he comes out of the shower, Maddie is sitting in bed with Jenn, and then he'll be coming out naked, and Maddie will see him naked. And I'm like, but why? You know, it was the same thing. Why are you coming out of the shower naked? Why don't you just, you know, she's coming in the room, you know, she sleeps with you guys, then get dressed in the shower. On another occasion that I forgot to tell the guys on the phone, he said that he sleeps in boxers, and then it was odd because he would wake up, and this is his words, I don't talk like this, but he'll wake up with a boner, and then he'll have to turn around because Maddie was like cuddling with him, and that's when I was like, okay, this is not right.
So here she's identified two things that were happening in the same room as Jennifer Soto. Stearns making a habit of coming out of the shower and into Jenn's room stark naked, and yet Jenn did nothing about that, and she was quite happy for him to do that with her daughter, her pre-teen daughter, in the bedroom. And then she's talking about Stearns being in bed wearing boxers and having to roll over away from Maddie because of his physical reaction. You can't tell me that Jenn was so oblivious to the fact that this guy was sleeping in a bed next to her daughter wearing flimsy boxer shorts, and that she could not figure out what may have in fact been occurring. She was sleeping in a bed with Maddie between her and this monster, and all he was wearing was boxer shorts, and she thought that was okay. So the next video I'm going to play is from one of the roommates, and this is when she talks to Jenn about what to her was concerning and got brushed off by Jenn. So this is another instance where Jenn was aware of something. She was aware that to an outsider it was wrong, and she brushed it off.
At any point did you ever see Stefan alone with Maddie?
There was only one time where I had sent a message to Jenn. I want to say I couldn't sleep. I was going to the gym, and they were playing Atari. Like, I heard them playing Atari, and the door was like partially closed. And I texted Jenn. I was like, hey, I just want to make sure you're okay with this, because, you know, I grew up in a very different household. Like, my dad doesn't play, so that's just the way I was raised. So I sent her a message. I was like, hey, are you good with this? Like, are you okay with her being in his room?
So this is the room upstairs. Okay.
Yeah, those were around the time that they were broken up.
And what did Jenn say?
I mean, I can pull it up, but I'm pretty sure it was thank you, friend, you're good.
Clearly there was no retrospection after Jenn was questioned about, are you okay with this happening? She just blew it off. Thank you, friend, you're good. And then continued to send her daughter upstairs to sleep with this monster. Now, I'm going to finish the video off by playing multiple clips from interviews that were done with Jenn. And the things that stand out to me here are her, on one hand, admitting that she was sending her daughter upstairs to sleep with this man. And when questioned about it, she claims that she wasn't really comfortable with it. But then she's like, well, you know, I could count it on my hand 5 times, no more than 5 times. There's another instance, which I haven't included here, where she's like no more than 2 hands. I could count it on no more than 2 hands. She basically comes across to law enforcement as being quite blasé about it. She talks the talk, oh, I wasn't okay with it, but I allowed it because I was selfish. Or I allowed it because they just kept pestering me to the point where I said, well, I'll allow it just this once, but it can't continue. When she's challenged over it, she tries to say that she didn't approve. She also tries to say that she was oblivious to what was happening, but she makes these other statements like the Woody Allen statement, which I will include in this. She talks about not trusting men, and specifically not trusting Stearns. She talks about being concerned when Maddie went to visit her father in Texas, and she was concerned about the flight, and she was worried about someone perhaps filming Maddie while Maddie was in the toilet. And then when questioned on it, and there's a long pause, and I think she realises she's screwed up, because we know that that's something that Stearns did. He actually put his phone in a position to record one of the flatmates under the door while she was in the bathroom. And it is hugely suspicious to me that Jenn would mention that as being something that concerned her. So there are so many instances here in this audio where on one hand she's trying to convince the law enforcement that she's innocent, she had no idea, she never would have suspected Stearns, and then at the same time she says things which to the intelligent person would make you think, well, hang on, no, she knew, she had to know. And I think all these things could be used in a civil suit against her to show that her negligence, her willingness to serve up her daughter to a predator, was what resulted in the death of Madeline Soto. So I think there's been enough narrative of all these comments made by Jenn. I think I've made my case here in terms of why they are so significant. So I'm just going to finish the video with all these different clips that to me show Jenn as being negligent, and let you hear it for yourselves. So before I do, please hit the like button. If you're new, please subscribe, and please do leave a comment below. And thank you for listening. So let's jump in and listen to all these Jenn Soto clips.
At this point, Maddie pretty much slept with me all the time. I think I can count maybe on one hand how many times she's gone upstairs to sleep with him alone, because I wasn't comfortable with it. I was like, no, this it doesn't look right, like it just doesn't seem right, like I'm not comfortable with it. Maddie, you gotta sleep with me. And I've told him that. But there are times that they beg for sleepovers, like, please, we just want to stay up late watching movies. And I would be too tired to stay up late, so I would say, fine, go ahead and do it, but just this once, like.
When did you start becoming comfortable with it?
I don't know if I was ever comfortable with it.
But you told them to go Sunday night to go sleep together.
I did. That was a selfish move on my part. It's because I wanted a good night's sleep. I didn't want her kicking me or rolling into me or waking me up, or to hear her alarm so that it woke me up. I wanted to keep sleeping until I needed to sleep, because I just had not, with my training schedule, I have not had a good night's sleep. My medication was out of whack. I was feeling funny and not like myself. And I knew that I needed another night's sleep and my medication in my body, like ASAP, so I needed to go to bed. So that was... I wasn't even comfortable sending her that night, but I just did it for my own selfish reasons. I've always told him that my biggest fear is that this would turn into a Woody Allen situation where the stepdaughter or the dad grooms the child and the child then turns 18 and ends up running away with him. I told him, like, that was my biggest fear and I don't ever want that happening. Like, you can't do that to me. Like,
why would you say that to him?
Because I never trusted. I grew up being told never trust a man. My mom put that in my body, never trust a man. And like, I did not completely 100% trust the man, but...
You have a new job.
Yes.
Okay, and if I say anything that's incorrect, please correct me, okay? You have a new job, and last night you asked them to go sleep upstairs because you wanted to get rest. Is that correct?
Yes.
Well, I'm sorry, let me backtrack a little bit. You send them upstairs, right?
Mm-hmm.
How many bedrooms are upstairs?
3.
Okay. Where?
In bedroom number 4.
Okay. And what about Stefan?
Bedroom number 4.
Okay. Is it normal for both of them to sleep in the same room?
Sometimes. When I really need a good night's sleep, I will send them upstairs. But when... also, a lot of times, we will sleep together in the king-size bed, all 3 of us.
My understanding was that at some point you told them it was time to go to bed.
Yeah.
Do you recall about what time that was?
Around 11 o'clock.
Do they comply with your wishes to go upstairs when you say that at about 11 o'clock?
Yes, they do.
Did Madeline ever have, like, effects from taking the hydroxyzine in the morning? Like, still be kind of sluggish?
Yes.
How often would that occur? Was that, like, every morning or not every morning?
Not every morning. If we happen to give her medication later than normal than routine, that would happen. But,
Okay. And were there ever any instances where she had taken too much of the medicine? Perhaps you and Stefan had given her medicine, not knowing that the other person had?
yes, that's happened once
How many?
before.
Just once or more?
I want to say 1.
Okay. Were you taking medicinal marijuana in pill form at any point, or THC?
Yes.
And what do those pills or tablets or capsules look like?
They're purple capsules.
Did you ever suspect or confront Stefan about giving those medications to Madeline?
No.
So during this incident where Madeline had been double dosed with hydroxyzine, do you recall any conversation you had with Stefan and inquiring as to whether or not he had accidentally given her any of your THC?
That hadn't occurred to me. I had asked him the one morning Maddie wouldn't wake up and get ready for school, and she was just out of it. I assumed it was medication related.
Okay.
But I didn't realize, I'm like, did this one medication hit her too hard because we gave it to her late? I called poison control. I needed to see what would happen. Because at this point, I think I had gotten Stefan to admit that he gave her a second dose of the sleeping meds as well, because he thought I had given it to her in the first place.
Okay.
But that was with hydroxyzine. I didn't know anything about THC, the marijuana.
I'm just asking you.
Oh.
I'm asking if you remember having that conversation, because there is a conversation on your phone about you were relaying that Madeline said that she suspected that it was different bigger pills, and you relayed that to Stefan and had a conversation with him. And if you don't remember it because it was a year ago, that's fine. Once he moved up to bedroom 4, were there instances where Madeline would sleep alone upstairs with him?
I'm gonna say
I want you to think carefully before you answer, because obviously we've gone through your phone and we've seen all the conversations that you've had with Stefan. So it's clear that that's occurring. So I'm giving you the chance to answer the question.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out how many times it's happened.
Okay. Why are you allowing that to occur?
I saw Stefan as someone that I completely trusted with my life, my child's life. I thought he had cared for her as a father would. He had been in her life for more than half of it, playing the father role.
Maddie had the opportunity to go visit her biological father in the fall out in Texas. Is that a yes?
Yes.
All right. Do you remember texting the biological father, "Hope nobody touches Maddie or tries shit or films her under the bathroom"? You remember sending that text?
No.
Orange County Sheriff's Office back in February?
No.
Because that seems like a very oddly specific thing to text the father. So you didn't know anything about what was going on filming underneath bathroom doors?
No idea. I don't know why I would have texted that.
Okay. June 16th of last year, about 9:30 p.m.
Oh, actually, I can't actually think back to that.
Okay. What?
I think around the time that Maddie was going to fly out to Houston, there had been an airline person that had gone into the bathroom and placed their camera on the toilet to film. And I remember thinking, I don't want Maddie, I'm afraid of Maddie being alone on a plane, because what if an attendant does that to her, says, hold on, let me fix something in the bathroom. And in reality, they're setting up a camera, because this did happen to a girl.
Okay.
So I want to say it may have been concerns over that.
Now, June 16th of last year at 9:30 p.m. and 27 seconds, you texted Stefan this: "Maddie's no longer sleeping with me. I can't risk it." What does that mean?
I have no idea.
How often was Maddie sleeping with you?
Often, all the time.
Well, you keep on saying often versus all the time. Was it 100% of the time or not 100% of the time?
If she wasn't with my mom and she was with me, then yeah, she was sleeping with me.
Okay.
So I had a rule. She wasn't allowed to sleep in his bedroom at all. Like, no sleepovers, no nothing. For a very long time. For years.
Since we're pausing, what brought that on? Was that like a request of his, like, can we sleep in the same bed, request of hers, or you just saying?
Me being super paranoid, not to trust anyone. For the longest life, even though he treated her well, I still looked at him on, like side-eye, like making sure, like, is that normal? Is this, okay, that looks normal, okay. I wanted to make sure that nothing was happening and that I was missing something, but I was. But, he never requested. I'm sorry, repeat the question then.
So I guess when you said, like, you had a rule, like, obviously we know now they've, slept in the same bedroom together and everything else. I'm sure you're questioning a lot of things that, like, you haven't been told or that are going on. The thought process of them sleeping in the same bedroom caused you to say that you had a rule for the longest time where they couldn't.
Yeah.
I have a son. He's a lot younger than her. He's 4. But I guess if I was dating somebody or had somebody over, I would never establish, and this is just me, a rule. He can't sleep in the bed with her, or she's not going to be. It wouldn't even be a thought process for me. So that's why I asked, because I wouldn't think of it even as an option.
Yeah.
So when you say you had a rule, I guess I'm asking what prompted the rule.
Sleepovers before. Yeah. Like, you want to watch movies and eat snacks? Can we do that? I'm like, no. We can all watch movies down here together. We can all sleep down here together. Up until June, together all the time. So we were always. She would sleep in the middle. I would sleep on this side. He would sleep on the other side. It wasn't until June that he got his own bedroom and I sent him upstairs. That's where the requests for sleepovers started.
Okay.
And I kept telling her no. I'm not comfortable with that. I'm not comfortable with that. But eventually, at some point, like we really want to watch. I forgot what movie it was. They really wanted to watch something, and I was really tired. And I said, okay, fine. Go ahead, but this can't happen often. And yeah, I allowed her to go upstairs and sleep with him. But honestly, I think I can count on one hand how many times that's happened, and it hasn't been many times that I've allowed her to have a slumber party with him, to be alone in a bed with him. I'm usually around all the time. Up until 2 weeks ago, you know, I was pretty much at home all the time living on disability. I think at one point you guys interviewed me, and when you guys showed me the picture of her, I believed the sexual stuff, but I didn't want to believe that he had done anything evil to her.
When you guys slept in the same bed together, in the middle, did you ever wake up and find them cuddling? Did you ever wake up and find them closer than you thought they should be?
They would snuggle, yeah.
Okay.
But we all snuggle. I didn't think that was abnormal.
So if you guys are sleeping in the same bed and she's in the center, you've woken up and they're snuggling, they're under the same blanket, they're not under the same blanket?
No.
But just like...
She's got her own blanket.
Spooning for what? What is snuggling to you? Because to me, snuggling, spooning. Big spoon, little spoon.
He would lay down like this and she would be right here in the nook.
Okay. How do you guys sleep? You guys sleep clothed, unclothed? I sleep clothed. Yeah. Shirt, pants, pajama sets?
Yes.
Everybody?
I sleep in like my everyday clothes.
Okay.
On pajamas or baggy t-shirts and shorts.
Okay.
And Stefan would sleep with his t-shirt or boxers, sometimes with his pants on. Okay,
so they would snuggle, sometimes him being in his boxers. You would wake up and she'd be in the nook of his arm, essentially in a cuddling position. And you never found that weird?
No.
Should he be charged with murder? Yes.
Please.
Does your role in her life lead this to happen? I'll be honest. Yes.
I know.
Since she was a child, since her victimization started, it occurred under your roof and you acted like it didn't exist. And knowing the victimization, knowing how ongoing it is, knowing that you saw a picture of it, not just us telling you, not me and him saying, hey, listen, he's being... I think they had a bad relationship. They showed you a fucking picture of it. And you still protected him. So how am I supposed to not think that the thought process in your mind is until she's found, Stefan can't be charged with murder? Because we both now know that you don't want him to be charged with murder because you want him to have a lawyer.
No, I don't. That was
the blowjob.
That was
then.
He
can't be charged with murder.
That was then. Everything that you guys have shown me since then and have showed me that he's
So we had to
lying
show you a
this whole
picture
time.
of her dead in a car for you to finally not take his side?